Part 13. As expected, Srimati was made to feel unwelcome in the Gangaka's house. Still, she wanted to win over her mother-in-law, so she tried to help her in kitchen. But Gangakka made it clear that the kitchen was her domain, and she didn't want Srimati to enter it. She would say, "You have just married. You do not know our customs, so please don't bother about cooking." Within a week, Srimati got bored. She went to her house. Her grandmother would ask her innumerable questions. "Srimati, what did your mother in law give you in marriage? I saw her in sari shop the other day. Did she get you a sari?" Srimati could not answer any of her queries. When Shrikant was there, Gangaka would be cordial, but when he went out, she would show her true colors by saying hurtful things to Srimati. "I really don't understand your customs. You call Shrikant by his first name, and that too in short form. We believe that if you address your husband by his name, you shorten his lifespan. Your mother should have taught you all these manners. These There is a saying, the quality of the sari depends on its thread, and the nature of daughter depends on her mother's. In the previous generations, when the husband was usually older than his wife, he would not be addressed by name. But Shrikant was only 10 months older than Srimati. Besides, they had grown up together. So it was hard for Srimati to change. Whenever she tried, Shrikant would not allow it, saying, "Srimati, get out of that old custom. When I can call you by your first name, you should also be able to do the same. First we were good friends, and now I have become your husband. That's all." Shrikant would also tease her, saying that he knew she would someday become his wife, and that is why he wanted her to call him Shri. Srimati would become very dejected whenever Gangaka hurt her like this. Her mother was such a gentle, docile person. She would never have taught her daughter wrong things or given her bad advice. Srimati felt very helpless when her mother was criticized by Gangaka, but she said nothing. 10 days after the marriage, Shrikant and his Srimati came to Bombay. It was the month of August. The monsoon had set in and it was pouring in Bombay. Bombay rains are so different from the rains of Dharwad. The continuous rain would disrupt local life, but the disciplined citizens of Bombay never complained. Srimati was shocked to see her small single bedroom apartment at Bandra. It was probably smaller than a room in their Hubli house. There was no question of garden or Bakula tree in place like Bombay. "Shri, why should we pay 1,000 rupees rent for such small house?" Shrikant laughed at her innocence. "Srimati, it is very difficult to get an apartment in Bandra without paying an advance. Be happy about this house. It is only thanks to Vasudev that we got it." "Shri, what's so great about Bandra?" "Srimati, Bandra is very expensive area. It is very well connected. Gradually, you will understand all that." Shrikant reported for work as a software engineer on the appointed day. He was on probation for 6 months. Among the many people who joined the company that day, he was the only person who was married. Though it seemed a little odd, Shrikant was never embarrassed about it. Srimati was left alone at home. She would keep remembering her mother, her Hubli house, and the quiet atmosphere of their hometown. All these memories would make her homesick. Her eyes would well up with tears. Kamala had not shed a single tear at her daughter's marriage. She had held it in with sheer willpower. Now Srimati started seeing her mother in a new light. At least for her, life was fun with a loving husband, a new city, new experiences. But for her mother, her only friend was Srimati. "How is she managing without me?" Srimati wondered. This was the first time in 22 years that Srimati was away from her mother. She also remembered Gangaka's frequent taunts. Srimati, the color of the sari your mother has given me is not good. Ava, for that price, it would have been the best one. Rama would add. How much money did your parents spend for the marriage? Srimati did not know what to answer, but Rama would support her mother, saying, it would have definitely been less than what the Desais would spend on one day of Diwali. Srimati was so soft spoken and well behaved that it was difficult for her to answer back. Besides, she had just got married. She did not want to create any problem for anyone. After her marriage, Vandana too shifted to Bombay, but she lived far away near the Ireland Church at Malad, another suburb of Bombay. Unlike Hubli, in spite of being in the same city, it was not easy to meet her often. Srimati found it difficult to confide in Vandana about her problems because Vandana's in laws were very affectionate people. When Srimati went to their house she saw Vandana's mother in law giving her a sari for the Gauri festival. Though it was not an expensive one, it was a token of affection. Whenever something was to be given to her daughter in law, Gangakka on the other hand would say, oh, that is not our custom, or you are too modern, so I have not given you anything. Irrespective of all this, life was happy for Srimati because of Shrikant. They were young, they were starting a new home, and Gangakka was not present physically. Soon Srimati started getting used to Bombay. She took up cooking for the first time in her life. Shrikant was a hard working person and a dutiful husband. Right at the beginning of the month, he would hand over his. He had told her, Srimati, my mother has suffered a lot. She has sacrificed so much for my education. So every month you must send her 1,000 rupees. Then with the rest you manage the house. I won't ask you anything. She did not have any expensive habits, so Shrikant's salary was more than enough for her. Without fail, she would send 1,000 rupees to her mother-in-law. Shrikant too had simple taste. His only luxury was technical books which he would buy because they were essential for his work. Srimati knew about it and would keep some money aside. On his modest salary, they had enough for their needs, but not for luxuries. Some weekends, Srimati and Shrikant would visit nearby tourist sites like the Elephanta Caves, Baja, Karla, and other places of interest. Shrikant was not really interested in these historical places, but for Srimati's sake, he would go. 6 months after their wedding, Srimati got a letter from Professor Collins in reply to wedding invitation she had sent. He wrote that he wrote that he had been visiting Professor in South America for 6 months. As a wedding gift, he sent her a set of Roman and Greek history books. This was the best gift Srimati had received. Shrikant was confirmed as permanent employee within 3 months of his training instead of the usual 6 months, since his performance had been very good. As a result, he became busier by the day. His company, which was of moderate size, was growing rapidly, and Shrikant started growing with the company. Within a year's time, everyone had heard about him. His general manager, Mr. Vishwas Kelkar, had taken a great liking to Shrikant because of his hard-working nature. He would work on Sundays. He never uttered the word, sorry, I cannot do it. Sometimes Shrikant would work the entire night. At such times, he would ask Srimati to carry dinner to the office for him. Bombay being a safe place, Srimati would take a local train, give him his dinner, and come back. Initially, she would wonder how people traveled in such crowded trains, but now she was one of them. It was the custom for newlywed couple to go to the parents' place for the first Diwali after marriage. Shrikant and Srimati were supposed to go to Hubli, but because of some urgent assignment, Shrikant could not go and Srimati had to go alone. She had made it a point to take gifts for Gangakka and Rama. Even after all these months, the treatment she received from them was no different. The first year of Shrikant and Srimati's marriage flew by, and Srimati had become a Bombayite. Bombayite. The charm of discovering Bombay had worn off, and she had started feeling a little lonely. She seriously began to think of continuing her studies, and Shrikant welcomed the idea wholeheartedly. At times, Srikant would feel bad that his intelligent wife was whiling away her time in Bombay. So he encouraged her to study further. But a letter from Gangakka jeopardized everything.